Right, welcome back to Advent of Fortran. It's December 9th. That means it's time for day 5. Before I dive into day 5, I want to do one or maybe two things. The first is that I want to set a to-do note for myself from day 4. To extract one of these functions to some type of shared utility source file. And that would be actually two of these functions. The contain and overlap functions, those are probably going to be specific to day 4, but isNum and readInt, these should be extracted to something that I'll probably have to reuse for further Advent of Code days. I might not do that now, unless I happen to need it for day 5 right now. So for now, I'll just leave a to-do note there. And I guess I'll do this other thing too, that is I want to make a template source file so that I don't have to copy and delete stuff from this. I can just copy a template without having to delete anything. So there's going to be some one-time setup here, and then for day 6, 7, and so on, it's going to be a lot easier to start a new day. So I'll have a shell script to make the directory. And when I run this script, I'm going to give it the day as an argument. So I have, where is this? I don't want it there. So I have folders for days 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want this script, when I run it, to make a new folder. So for today, that would be day 5, but I want to provide that number as an argument to the script. So I would run like new day 5, and then it makes a folder 5, which is just empty for now. And I want to check the number of arguments, because if I run this without the 5, I want it to yell at me that I forgot to give it a number. So this is not Fortran, this is bash shell scripting. And I never remember that syntax. Like, really, who's going to remember that? So if remember how to compare things either. So is this numerical comparison or is this string comparison? I can't remember. Let's find out. I'm not going to bother making this help generic. I'll just print 1, even though it has to be some number, not necessarily 1. So is that right? Then I want it to actually exit. Yeah. Okay, so that's the basic error checking that I want in the shell script. So it makes the folder, which is empty. just to test this, I'm gonna remove that. I want to be careful not to like automatically remove folders in here because I might end up removing things that I haven't committed to Git yet, and I don't want to accidentally delete things. So to err on the side of caution, I'm just gonna remove here and then test. I want to remove this junk too. Didn't mean to actually create that. Okay. That's basically what I want. And now I need to copy just a template source file. There's going to be some one-time setup here that I just need to do today, but I won't need to do in subsequent days. So to start, I'm going to copy day 4 to a template. And just for today, I'll have to delete things from this template, which I don't want to be copied. Delete all those functions. I want to leave part 1. I think I even want to leave the string s and a few of those things. And I want, when I start a day, I want to print the file that I'm reading. So I'm going to leave that stuff. And I think I want to not have part 2 to begin with, and I want to use the test to begin with. So I think that's right. And then I want to copy the template into the new days folder. And rename it to main. And I think that's it. I'll also need the test input. Yeah, I might just want to launch a text editor for that. So I think the way I have Vim set up is it launches gvim or graphical Vim in the background, so it's not going to pause the shell script execution. It should keep going with the shell script, and well, this is the end of the shell script anyway, so it doesn't matter. It just exits. Let's try that. No, I have to explicitly do gvim and probably explicitly do it in the background. And I think that's it. So just put some junk in there to see if it reads. Then you know what? I'd like to cd as part of this too. And do I want to build? No, but I might want to like echo something so I can just copy and paste. I think the .exe is optional on Windows, at least I hope it is. Let's do that. It doesn't like that because I already wrote this. Oh, maybe it doesn't matter. Did it cd? It didn't cd. Comment that out for now. Can't. Okay, it can't remove. What happened? What happened to Vim? is supposed to launch a text editor. Why did it not do that? I think it's CDs locally. No, what is going on? Didn't this part worked a second ago, right? Yeah, so this launches a text editor, but then if I put other commands after that, it doesn't work. So maybe I need to just do this at the end. Not really sure why. And we're already in the folder. Okay. So that's it. And then here's the command that I want to run. No, I'm no longer in the folder. What if I push D instead of CD? No, it doesn't help. So I could probably do this a little bit more smoothly. Let me test this on day 6 because I'm not ready to do day 6 yet, but I just want to test that new day script on a folder that doesn't exist yet. So there's 6, it does nothing. Actually, this throws an error. That's good. Fortran tells me that the file doesn't exist. Just mashing my keyboard. Did this? Oh. No. Not what I wanted to do. There we go. So that's basically what I want from my new day bootstrap script. And then I can clean up some of this junk that's only for testing. Might as well redo that with 5. And that's it for the intro material. Now I'm ready to actually dive into day 5 of the advent of code. So your puzzle input. Not even reading yet. I'm just still testing the bootstrap script. So good, it reads my file. I might have to go back later and touch up the template if I want any changes, but I think this is good enough for now. Yeah, I'm done with this script. Might want to launch the text editor on this as well, if I can do that as part of New Day, but it's not really saving me much work at this point. There's not much of a point to automating it. So that's the test input. Let's get the actual input. This is going to be day 5. That file name is fine. Okay, this is going to be fun to parse. Let's see. What are the elves up to today? Bear with me while I awkwardly read this in silence. I'm gonna do this every day. So we have stacks of crates. This is the stacking procedure to rearrange the stacks. Move one from 2 to 1. So I guess that means move this from stack 2 to stack 1. Move 3 is going to pick up 3 things, not just the top 1 crate, I guess. Quantity of crates, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to bother with growable arrays yet. I'm just going to have some fixed upper limit on the number of stacks and the size of each stack. So 9 by 8. So it's not full, but that's less than 100 total items on all of the stacks combined, and then they're under 10 stacks. So I'll use some conservative upper bounds for array sizes. And I think I'm going to index these from the top down. So this would be basically stack 1 is going to be a vector stack. They're going to be rank 2 arrays. So one rank of the array is going to be which stack, and the other index of the array. 1 is going to be D, 2 is C, 3 is M. You could index it upside down to have M at 1, C at 2, and D at 3. But since we want to get the top at the end, I think I want to use like the OpenGL pixel indexing style where the top is 1 and the array grows towards the bottom of this text file. So it's fairly arbitrary, but just from thinking about this for 5 minutes, that's the way that it makes sense for me. So first part is going to be parsing this, parsing the initial stack, and then parsing the moves, and then applying the moves to the stack. So first part is parsing. Do I want to dynamically get anything? Like, do I want to dynamically figure out that there are 9 stacks, or do I just want to hard code that and have 3 stacks for the test and 9 stacks for the actual input? I think I'm just going to be lazy and hard code it. And I'm going to make those global variables in the module. For days 1 through 4, I only had 1 global variable. That was the name of the input file. Today I'm going to have a few more. The size and the capacities of the stacks in both dimensions. So those are going to be integers. Fun fact, Fortran doesn't have unsigned integers, it only has signed integers. So in any other language, you would probably use an unsigned integer for a size or a capacity of something, but Fortran doesn't have that, so the sizes and capacities are going to be signed. So it wouldn't make sense for them to be negative, but these variable types could be negative because that's how Fortran works. So basically we're going to have number of stacks and a number of crates. And then we're going to have a capacity. This is the actual number of stacks, and this is like some conservative. Yeah, no. N stack max, I don't need a capacity for that. But for n crate max, I do. How do I want this to work? I want to switch from the input to the test input, and then I want to switch these other global variables as well. I think I'll do that with preprocessor macros. I might need to add a compiler flag for that. Yeah, so I'm not going to set these here. Going to set these up here, and everything is going to be a parameter. A Fortran parameter is just a constant. So, first of all, is that right? This is how you do a constant string. First, I want to start out with the test. And then two of these are going to be parameters. Number of stacks is 3 for the test input. And then n crate is not a parameter. I will figure out n crate dynamically by parsing these and counting all of them. But the capacity, that's going to be a compile time constant. So this doesn't need to be inside the if-def. That's not conditional. Here, for the real input, it's going to be 9 instead of 3. For the test, it's 3. For the actual input, it's 9. And I also want to make sure that I've set up these macros correctly. And I think I need an extra compile flag to process those macros. See if that works. preprocessor. All right. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's printing all the lines. I don't really want to do that just yet. So that's the input. So I have if 0, and that uses input. If 1, no. Wait. Yeah, I want to print and stack. So did that work? Test input. And if I switch it to 0, it's the actual input. Okay, so that works. I might put something like this into my template because I'll probably have more constants that depend on whether I'm using the test input or the real input. And I don't have that in the template. I only did that today. I didn't have to do anything like this for days 1 through 4 because I didn't have any other capacities or global variables that were conditional on the input like that. All right, now let's get to the parsing. I want to parse these things, but I don't want to parse that stuff. There are going to be 2 loops here. There's going to be a loop for the initial stack setup, and then there's going to be a separate loop to parse the moves. So when I get to this blank line, I want to exit. Is there terminology here that I can use in the comments? I'll fill that in later. For now, I just want to read the initial stack configuration, and that's it. I want to read these, but I don't want to read these. I think they're always numeric, or sorry, always alphabetical. So I'm going to need an is alpha function to read the characters, but to not read the numbers. For that, I think it's time for utilities. So module needs to be a different name. There's not going to be a program inside the utilities. Isnum, I'm going to keep isnum. I'm going to keep readInt. This will probably break the no, it shouldn't break the compilation of day 4 as long as I don't use utils. Because readInt will be defined here and it will be defined in day 4 unless I go back and clean up day 4. I can delete all of that. So I already have is num. Now I need is alpha. And I want this to be, later I might need like an is lowercase and an is uppercase function, but for now I just need to know whether it's alphabetic or not. So I think that's it. In here I want to use utils, and I need to edit the build script to compile that as well. And this global variable is not there. I actually don't need this here anymore because it's in this module and it will automatically get into this one. Now let's see if is alpha is available. So I'm gonna read at character 2. Basically these are all fixed width. I'm going to assume that everything is one character because even in the real input they're all still one character. So I'm going to read the alphabetical characters from column 2, column 6, and column 10. So it starts at 2 and then it steps by 4. I think my data structure can just be a rank 2 array of characters. So like you could parse these and then convert them to some encoded integer, but I think it's easier to just work directly with the characters. So that's going to be the stack. Yeah, just wanted to check that the terminology was right. In the description they call it a stack, so I'm going to call it a stack. It's going to be a rank 2 array. Now I have to decide whether I want to make this row major or column major. I'm going to use 1 through 9 as the first index. So that's going to be n stack. And then the second is going to be, depending on how these are moved, you could end up with all, you could end up with all of the crates in one stack. So the upper bound here is n crate max. Okay. This is a compile time fixed size array. I'm not allocating this dynamically. It's just a little bit easier this way. Now I want to read these. The way that these are laid out is kind of funny. If it were up to me, I would like push these down one, so I'd have n here, z here, and an empty space there. And then same for stack 3, because I'm going to be indexing from the top, and it doesn't really matter if the whole stack is shifted up or down or not. We just need to know what's on top. So I'm going to have these laid out in memory like this, but it's equivalent. So I need an array for the stack, and I need another array for the number of crates in each stack, and I need to increment that every time I read one. So let's name these differently. N crate tote for the total number of crates, and then n crate for the number of crates in each stack. And those need to be initialized at 0. This is one of the great things about Fortran. To initialize a vector, you just set it to 0. You don't need to loop through each index. You can set the whole vector simultaneously. So gonna need some integers. Let's call them I and j. So I've read a line. I print the line. And then I want to figure out which things have characters. So 2 through n stack. Yeah. In step sizes of 4. So I want to start at column 2, then go to column 6, then column 10. So the step size for this loop is 4. And then each time k gets incremented by 4, I want to increment I by 1, and I have to initialize it because I is going to be the index into the stack. I don't want to index by k. And then hopefully this function works. So if there's an alphabetical character there as opposed to a space or a number, then I want to put this in the stack. And that's going to be, I have to increment the number of crates in the stack. So n crate I is incremented. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to need j. That might be unused. And then I set that crate. What is this variable called? I set the crate in the stack. So I and crate I equals this character. And then I want to print this to see if I read it correctly. Might need to add some format there. ND. Yeah, this is hard to parse, so I want to make this 2D. Is it also transposed? It doesn't matter, I can work around that. this is how you get the max element of a vector in Fortran. It's max val, as opposed to the max variadic max. Like variadic max would be like, if you want to get the max of 2 scalars, this would return 2. So that takes 2 arguments. But the vector form of max is max val, and that has 1 argument. That's going to give me the maximum number of crates in each stack, which for this initial configuration, that would be 3. So I loop through that, and then within that, I'm going to iterate over the stacks, and then now I have to check whether there's a crate there or not. Like for this stack, all 3 are filled, but for this one, there's only 1 crate in stack 3. So for this case, I want to actually write here. I don't want print, because I want to print 1 character at a time without advancing to a new line. So I have to use a write statement instead of a print statement. Will this work? And if there's nothing there, I just want to print a space. And I want some extra padding. So let's make 2 spaces actually. And then outside of that loop, I want to print a new line. Forgot then. So that needs, I can't use default output. I have to print a string explicitly, and I have to print 1 string, so I have to concatenate these. // is the Fortran string concatenation operator. And there's my stack. So like I said, n gets shifted up to the top because it doesn't matter whether the whole thing is shifted vertically. So I have n and z in the first stack, dcm in stack 2, and p in stack 3. So I've parsed that. I think I need to take a lunch break before I continue with parsing the moves and then applying the moves to the stacks. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. Now, before I get to parsing the moves, I'd like to check that I can also parse the initial stack correctly for the actual input. So I'm gonna switch this to the actual input. CQB, ZWQR, VLRMB, PFQ, WMBJN. Yeah, I think this looks correct. So that seems to be working both for the test and for the actual input. Now I will parse the moves, or the rearrangement procedure. And that's going to consist of reading through the rest of the lines in the file. So for the test, there should be 4 more lines, and there they are. now I have to parse the integers from those lines. So to do that, it's similar to what we did for day 3. Or day 4. So I'm going to open up day 4 to remind myself how I did that. Here it is, already had it open. Yeah, and it's time. No, I already extracted read int. So I've addressed that to-do note. And the moves. The moves are like this. So move 1 from 2 to 1. So we have the number of crates to move, and then the source crate and the destination crate. So the number of moves the source and the destination. Those are all integers. Let's see if that works. Not that. One, 2, 1. 3, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, and 1, 1, 2. It looks like I'm parsing the moves correctly. I can get rid of some of these debugging print statements. Now, I've parsed everything. I just need to apply the moves to the crates. So, the first move, it's move 1 from 2 to 1. We move 1 crate from stack 2 to stack 1. And then this is the resulting configuration. So I'm going to make this a subroutine. Print stack. Give it the stack. Actually, these are all global variables, so this doesn't need to take any arguments. So I'll move this as a subroutine up here. And I want to reprint the stack after I apply each move. So the first thing to check is, does that subroutine work? And it doesn't because I didn't declare any variables. let's apply this move to the stack. So we have the initial configuration of the stack, and then we have the new configuration of the stack. But I don't need to have a copy of the entire stack, or the entire set of crates, which is multiple stacks. I only need a copy of a single stack as a workspace. So when we move one from 2 to 1, we take this and we copy it to the top of the new stack. And I don't want to call it stack. I'll call it a column. This can be a local variable. A column with a capacity of n crate max. A column is just a single column of the stack. So it's like this. And it is going to look like this. So when we move, we add things to the top. So that's going to come from the source first. 1 through n. We're moving n items from the source. So that's how you assign a slice of a vector to another slice of a vector in Fortran. It's very straightforward. It's like MATLAB. And now the rest of the column is going to be the destination, and it's going to be everything in the destination. So that's n plus n crate destination equals basically the entire destination which has been set. Let me just print that first one and then exit. So I should get DNZ after the first move, and I'm going to exit because I haven't actually saved that into the stack yet. What is wrong with that? Source. Yeah, it's not source, it's stack. And then how is this indexed? And then the same thing there, destination. Is that right? Yeah, this is not an integer. It has to be a character, like the stack. should I just do it like this? It's a parameter, but it doesn't like that. What is going on with the size of the column? It's 128. So we have a vector of 128 characters. That part makes sense. Array bound mismatch. At line 110. So this, is this 3? Yeah, it should be 3. That's 3. Why can I not assign like this? This assignment worked. Is it this part? NZ does not like this. I could just do this with a loop. Really not sure. If I take out the bounds check, this is dangerous, but I think okay. Let's make another variable, the size of the column ncol is going to be this. And now I only want to print the elements which have been set. So I don't see this stuff in the padding to the end of the column. Is this off by 1? It's off by 1. D and Z. So this has to be n+1. There we go. Now is that Was that the problem with the bounds check? Yes. The compiler was not wrong, I was wrong. And I have an unused variable. Okay, so I have the column assigned. Now I just need to put the column into the stack and actually remove D from the source column. Let's make another variable. And source, so the source is going to shrink because we removed a crate from the source column. It's going to shrink by n. So move to the destination, and we have to shrink from the source. So there are two separate things. The first thing is moving the columns to the destination. We already have that in this working vector. So and it doesn't really matter what's in the rest of the destination because we're going to set that to the size of the new column. And then we need to remove crates from the source. I should be able to do this without a temporary array. So source and that's going to be n plus 1 through n plus n source. I think that's correct. And then we have to reset the size. And now I want to print the new stack to see if I've applied that move correctly. And it should look like this, but with everything shifted vertically up, like I did for the initial configuration. Line 124. DNZ CMP. Yeah, that looks correct. Now I have to iterate through all of the moves, which should just consist of removing that exit print. And does it look like this at the end? Finally, C. Oh, something is upside down. Move 112. I messed up somewhere. Yeah, I definitely messed up. It's close, but it's not exact. DNZCMP. I have the first move correct. Because in the first move, I only move one. So it must be a problem related to N. So I think the second move is messed up already. In the second step. Okay, I haven't used K in this loop. So I'm going to use this to exit the loop at the second iteration, or after the second move. And I can't forget to delete this after I finish debugging. CM. Is this shifted? No. Trying to figure out which stack is empty here. So the first stack is empty, and that's correct. Second stack, nothing happened to the second stack because we're moving from 1 to 3. DNZP. Oh. Oh. They're reversed. ZNDP. Yep. I was thinking you pick up 3 all at once and move all 3 and drop them down, but that's not how it works. You pick them up one at a time, so basically the part of the stack that you move gets flipped upside down. So this is easy enough. End call to 1 with a step of -1. I hope I got that right. So this should change DNZ to ZND in the reverse order, and then P is still on the bottom because P was already in the third column. That didn't work. Does it go there? It's embarrassing that I'm forgetting this. Can it not be negative? What's wrong with this? Oh. This is the thing that I want to reverse, not... That really was an unclassifiable statement. So what was that supposed to do? D and Z. That wasn't right. again, I reversed it in the wrong place. So this part of it should not, no, the part that comes from the source gets flipped. The part in the destination stays the same. So this goes from n to 1 with a step of -1. Z n dp, Z n dp. I think that second move is correct. And now I can remove that, and this should apply all of the moves. And at the end we get CMZ, CMZ, NDP, NDP. That looks correct for the test. Now I just need to automate the extraction of the first step. So this is actually not a sum. I'm not going to have a sum variable in here. What I'm going to have is the top of each column of the stack, which is just stack. What if some of them are empty? Does it want white space? I don't know. Maybe it won't matter. So this is every column, and then just the top, so just one. That should say CMZ for the test, and it says CMZ, so let's do it with the real input. And I guess that's part 1. Get in. Let's move on to part 2. So when I did part 1, I accidentally implemented it as what they want for part 2 because I didn't read the prompt thoroughly. So all I need to do for part 2 is copy and paste an extra subroutine and then undo the negative stepping that I just did at the end there. And this is what I was printing a few iterations ago, I believe. I can't scroll up all the way through that because there's so much stuff in the data. But yeah, this should be pretty straightforward. Let's get rid of that junk. I'm copying and pasting more than is absolutely necessary. This could be refactored, and honestly it should be refactored so that the parsing is a subroutine, and then I don't have that parsing repeated between steps 1 and steps 2. But I'm just doing this quick and dirty, so it's fine. So all I need to do is not reverse this 1 through n with a step size of 1. Step size of 1 is the default, so you don't need the third thing after another colon. I have to call part 2. Stack. Yeah, this is exactly what I did a couple source code iterations ago, and now it's MCD, which is exactly right. Let's try that on the real data. That takes a second, mostly because it's just printing a bunch of stuff to the console. Let's see if it's right. Get in. All right, part 2 was easy because I already accidentally did it. It's time to commit. Close all my tabs from debugging. Let me clean up some of these prints too. I still want to print the final stack. I just don't need to print every single iteration. And I don't need to print all the moves or the individual column. Okay, that's a little bit cleaner. So now I think I can stage these files and commit. By the way, I have an alias set up so that when I type ... it's the same as cd ... Anyway, that's how that works. Still have bounds checking on. I did turn that off temporarily, but it's back on, so that's good. And I think that's it. Just want to make sure I don't have any untracked files, and I don't, so that's good. What is this, day 5? Yeah. This is the second one that I've done today on video, so it gets a little confusing. And that wasn't the commit message that I wanted. Add day 5. Let's make sure that pushed. And now we have day 5. So I think that's it for today. Yeah, there are my stars. All right, I'll catch you next time.